All right, guys, so we got to talk about Ted Cruz, who is the definition of inconsistent, okay? Because when Ted Cruz is on, he is on, right? He's on fire, okay? I love when Ted Cruz is on fire, okay? When he's on top of his game. However, when he is not on top of his game, he's very bad, okay? Like, for example, when he called the January 6th protesters terrorists, right? I believe that he did, okay? During a congressional hearing, and Tucker Carlson had to bring Ted Cruz on his show and whip him back into shape, right? Let Ted know, hey, man, you're smarter than this. Don't say stuff like that, right? So that being said, we got to talk about Ted Cruz when he's on fire, right? When he's hot, okay? And this clip right here is going to be good Ted Cruz, as he checked a DOJ official, specifically Assistant Attorney General Kenneth Polite, on why in the world is the DOJ refusing to do their jobs and to arrest and prosecute the woke revolutionary protesters who have been trying to intimidate Supreme Court justices in their houses and also basically everywhere they go, to be quite honest with you. And we all know the answer to that question. It's very simple. It's because it is partisan hackery coming from the Biden administration. They simply don't want to lock up and prosecute and enforce the laws against people that they agree with, right? They don't want to do it. So Ted Cruz is going to do an amazing job at dismantling this guy's excuses and talking points as to why the DOJ is not doing their job. Take a look.
Simultaneously, while violent terrorists are threatening pregnancy centers, we also have had protesters at the homes of Supreme Court justices night after night after night. Now, I believe protesting at someone's home, where your spouse sleeps, where your children sleeps, is inherently threatening. It is designed to be threatening. And we know the violent rhetoric with the encouragement of Democratic members of Congress resulted in at least one deranged individual traveling from California to Maryland to attempt to murder Justice Kavanaugh. Now, as it so happens, Congress has addressed this issue. It's passed 18 U.S.C. Section 1507, making it a crime to protest at the home of a Supreme Court justice while a case is pending. Night after night after night, these protesters committed federal crimes on national television. Why has the Department of Justice refused to enforce 18 U.S.C. Section 1507?
Senator, very recently, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland, in fact, has prosecuted a defendant for unlawful conduct in front of the home of one of our Supreme Court justices.
So one person?
To date, there has been one prosecution.
And what about the hundreds of others? All of whom have violated the law. On the face of it, it's not complicated. The law is very clear. Why does the Department of Justice pick and choose which laws to enforce, which criminal laws to enforce, and why does it seem to exactly follow the pattern of the partisan preferences of the Biden White House?
Again, Senator, politics should play and does not play any role in our prosecutorial decisions. What I will also add is that our Attorney General has increased the U.S. Marshal Service's resources that are brought to bear to protect our Supreme Court
under Section 1507. Why have there not been any others?
Senator,
does the department believe the law is unconstitutional? And if not, why are you refusing to enforce it?
Respectfully, Senator, I disagree that we've chosen not to enforce it. Again, there's been one prosecution of a
out of
defendant.
Hundreds. What about the rest of the hundreds?
Senator, again, I cannot comment on the current status of potential investigations in this area.
Final question, was the one prosecution you referenced a 1507 prosecution, or was it something else?
I don't believe it was under that statute.
So you haven't brought a single one?
Again, I believe the conduct itself was the focus of the prosecution that you're raising.
I think you need to follow the law.
There are no further senators seeking questions.
Yeah, that was good, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz checked that guy, okay? And he checked him on what is obviously partisan hackery that we should never have in our federal government, right? We should never have our federal government, our Department of Justice, choosing to prosecute people based off political partisanship. It should never happen. But that's the world we live in under the Biden administration, because literally we watch people violate the law, literally break the law, protest in front of Supreme Court justice homes with the intent to intimidate them into changing their decision regarding overturning Roe v. Wade, We sat there and watched it, and nobody did anything about it. The Biden administration turned their heads. In fact, the Biden administration went as far as to encourage it, to say we encourage these protests in front of the Supreme Court justice home, basically encouraging them to break the law, encouraging them to break the law. So y'all tell me, how in the world can we have law and order? How in the world can we expect people to follow the laws if the federal government is actively encouraging people to break the law? Right? You see the issue here? Right? We have a federal government that encourage people to break the law and will not prosecute those people for it, which completely undermines the legitimacy of the federal government and the sovereignty and integrity of our institutions, because there's no respect for the rule of law. The authorities don't even respect the rule of law. Again, this is absolutely insane. You want to talk about an attack on democracy? That's an attack on democracy. Encouraging people to break the law so that you can get the outcome that you want from the Supreme Court, to intimidate Supreme Court justices, that is an attack on democracy. We should be having hearings about that, okay? Which is something I'm going to get to in a little bit. But I'm just saying, it's not just that. I mean, you have these people stalking these Supreme Court justices, following them to restaurants, protesting, intimidating them at restaurants to the point where they have to sneak out the back. We had an assassination attempt, which is probably the only prosecution that this guy was talking about. That's the only guy they prosecuted. The guy that actually tried to assassinate one. Right? Again, let's wait till it actually gets out of control before we actually deal with the problem. Again, you had groups out there putting bounties on Supreme Court justices so that people knew their locations, so that protesters could show up and intimidate them. This extended into protesters going into churches, trying to intimidate and protest in places where the people there have nothing to do with what's going on in the Supreme Court. These people are also bombing, okay, and vandalizing pregnancy centers. These are actual real domestic terrorists that the DOJ is like, well, you know, we agree with them, so we're just not going to go after them because we agree with them politically. But yet when it comes to protesting parents protest at the school board, we need to treat them like domestic terrorists. When it comes to so-called white supremacy, that's the biggest domestic terror threat to this country. But you got left-wing extremists like BLM and Antifa, and again, the Roe v. Wade protesters that have literally been protesting for years, and they just get away. The DOJ does not seem to be concerned about that type of domestic extremism. They're not concerned about it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what are the Republicans going to do about it? Because it's one thing to come up here and talk big game. It's one thing to go viral, pressing these officials on their obvious hypocrisy. I mean, we already knew that this was political. What is the Republican Party going to do about it? That's the next step. Because in my opinion, I think that the Republican Party should outright come out and say, when we take back power, when we control the Department of Justice again, we're going to prosecute you. We're going to come arrest you. Well, why is that? Because they broke the law. You broke the law. And the Democrats would do the exact same thing. You know how we know? It's because the Democrats are still arresting and going after people who came anywhere near the Capitol on January 6th. They're still hunting them down. Even though that happened, over a year ago, you still got stories about how people are still being arrested for what happened on January 6th. So why can't Republicans do the same thing? Why can't Republicans, when they take back the DOJ, come out here and say, you know what? These groups, Ruth sent us, that group, yeah, we're coming after you. We're prosecuting you. All these people that was outside the Supreme Court justice houses, we know who you are. We've seen you on camera, the videos out there on social media. Yeah, we're prosecuting you. We're charging you with a federal crime. That's exactly what you should do. But see, I don't have any faith in that because, again, this Republican Party is weak. They're weak. They let the Democrat Party roll over them when it comes to stuff like this. This is why the Democrats are so emboldened. This is why they do that. Because they know, well, the Republicans aren't going to do it to us. They're not going to go after our people, right? They're not going to go and arrest these protesters. Once they take back power, we don't need to worry about it. They're not going to do the same thing we did to them when it comes to January 6th. They're not going to try to embarrass us the same way we embarrassed them. They know that. That's why they have no problems doing it. That's why they have no problems trying to kick out Republican members of Congress, stripping them of their committee assignments. They have no issues with that. Why? Because Republicans never do it back to them. Republicans aren't going to impeach Biden, even though they should. They should impeach him and have an inquiry about his business dealings with Hunter Biden. Absolutely. Democrats said, we don't care if Trump is out of office. We're going to have the impeachment trial, even though that was unprecedented. We've never had an impeachment trial of a president after they left office. There was question about whether that's even constitutional. Democrats didn't care. They said, you know what? We're going to do it anyways. And some of these Republicans went right along with it. Again, I can rag on the Democrats, right, for them protecting their people. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it really comes down to the Republicans and what they're going to do in order to prevent this stuff from happening in the future. And what they have to do is give the Democrats a taste of their own medicine. So while I love the fact that Ted Cruz exposed this guy and made him look silly, you got to take it a step further. And you have to act when you take back power and say, you know what, we're going to do the exact same thing that you did to us. That's the only way you guys will learn a lesson. And ultimately, in the day, they wouldn't be wrong because they broke the law. You broke the law by protesting in front of the Supreme Court Justice's house with the motivation of trying to intimidate them into changing a ruling that you didn't like. I'm just saying, the ball's in the Republicans' court. I'm tired of the fireworks. I'm tired of all the lip service. I want to see some action. I want to see some action. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.